I can't believe it's my 100th episode of the weekly fragrance rotation series, so stay tuned to find out what fragrances I chose to wear this week. Hey, what's good guys? Hunter here and welcome back to the channel where I upload weekly fragrance content, so you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below and also be sure to follow me over on my Instagram page. So like I said, it is the 100th episode of this series and it's kind of crazy because I've been doing this series for around 3 years, so it should have been much more if I would have been consistent with it, but we are at the 100th episode, which I guess is a milestone. And if you are familiar with this series, I basically run down what fragrance I wore on each day, how many sprays, the kind of weather, and if that fragrance got any compliments or not. So let's get right into Sunday. Sunday was in the low 80s and very sunny outside, so I went with a Louis Vuitton, and probably my favorite in the California collection, it is Afternoon Swim. This stuff is literally a masterpiece when it comes to freshies, especially from Louis Vuitton. And just like that name says, guys, Afternoon Swim is exactly the vibe that this gives off. It's so juicy, so bright, so refreshing, and just extremely high quality, but that's kind of what you expect from Louis Vuitton, which is probably my favorite designer house of all time. The only downside with this fragrance is the performance is absolute trash, and that is unfortunate, but I guess this is the kind of fragrance you just spray on for going out when it's really sunny and warm outside, maybe going swimming, and you can just reapply it later on in the day, but that is a downside. So I did do 6 sprays of Afternoon Swim. Didn't really do much that I recall on Sunday, so got no compliments with it either. But if you are looking for just one summer fragrance from Louis Vuitton, Afternoon Swim would be the one I recommend. Monday happened to be in the mid 80s and sunny, so a little bit warmer, and I put out another summertime banger that is under the radar, and it is called Tous Man Chill. Now, I know a lot of you guys have probably never heard of Tous, but actually make some very good fragrances, especially Man Chill, which I believe is one of their newer launches. And this is the kind of fragrance that when you spray on, it just gives you that cooling, kind of chilling, refreshing vibe, especially on a hot, sunny day. This stuff just like cools you down, hence the name Man Chill. Also very minty and just so uplifting on a bright day. And I did do 10 sprays of Tous Man Chill. The performance also isn't necessarily the best, definitely better than Afternoon Swim, however. Got no compliments. I did do some shopping, ran around, had to get some things done, but that is what I chose to wear on that hot, sunny day on Monday is Tous Man Chill. Definitely worth checking out for the summertime. Tuesday was in the mid 80s, but it was actually cloudy outside, and I pulled out a cheapie that I actually just picked up the day prior on Monday when I was shopping, and that is Lattafa Rom's Silver, which I did just recently review. If you caught that review, you know I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of this stuff and did rub some people the wrong way because they were fans of it. But guys, I'm always going to be completely honest with you. But if you are familiar with Rom Silver, this is a clone of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Ultramalt, which is a very bubblegum, kind of sweet, clubbing style fragrance, and this goes in that same direction with the pear, the lavender, the vanilla base. But this one actually smells a little bit more old school than Ultramalt and 9 p.m., which is also another clone from Offnon of Ultramalt. And to me, it just smells very cheap, and that's what it is, guys. I got this for $15 when I was out shopping. Now, I'm actually usually a big fan of Lattafa, but this one just wasn't it for me. On that day, I did do 10 sprays of Rom's Silver just to test it out, see how it performed, get a full wearing experience from it. And honestly, you can spray this one a lot. You're not gonna care about running through this bottle because of how cheap you can get it for. And I actually did get a compliment from a coworker around like 8 hours into the day, which did surprise me. So the performance was at least good. She basically asked me what I was wearing because it smells very good, and I told her what it was, and I also told her that it was around 15 bucks, and she kind of looked at me funny like, what the heck, $15? And then she proceeded to say it kind of smells a little bit old school, and I was shocked that she said that because I had the same thought in my head throughout the entire day while wearing it. So she kind of confirmed it does have an old school dry down, which is strange because there's no really oak moss or anything in here that would give it that vibe, but for some reason it comes across like that. If you thought maybe 9 p.m. and Ultramalt were a little bit too youthful, you could check out Lattafa Rom Silver. Wednesday was in the low 80s and cloudy outside, and on that day I did go for the clubbing king, which is of course Versace Eros, and this is the original Eau de Toilette. I haven't worn this bottle in probably like a year or even 2, but for some reason I was craving this DNA. It's apple, vanilla, Very, very sweet, sexy as well. And like I said, I haven't worn it in so long. And on that day, even though it was a little bit hot, probably wasn't the best weather to pull this out because this does suit better in like the colder fall and winter, but I was just in the mood for it. I also did do my usual 10 spray routine with arrows, and this stuff is potent, especially my bottle being around 3 years old. And if you do spray that much with something like this, you can definitely choke yourself out and possibly choke out people around you. Now, I did get a compliment from a coworker as well. She kind of came over to me and asked me what fragrance I was wearing. And usually when people ask me what I'm wearing, I like to say, what are your thoughts on it first before telling them the name. She basically said it's all right, so she wasn't blown away by it, but she did ask me what I was wearing. Of course, I told her Versace Eros. So apparently she wasn't impressed with the Clubbing King. Anyways, that's what I wore for Wednesday is Versace Eros. I know they just came out with a new like Eros Energy in that yellow bottle that I'm definitely gonna have to check out. Thursday was in the high 70s and sunny outside, and I went with Nishane Hacivat, the original Hacivat. I do also own Hacivat X, which would probably be better suited for the warmer months, unlike Hacivat, but I was just in the mood for the original with that beautiful oak moss dry down that the X flanker kind of gets rid of. On that day, I actually only did 6 sprays of Hacivat for some reason. I guess I didn't want to overdo it. And I did get 2 compliments, I guess you can say, because the first coworker came over to me and actually said that I smelled like a grandma, which took me by surprise. And I was kind of like, wow, if my grandma smelled like this, then she's the best smelling grandma in the world. But I was just so shocked by that statement. So I asked another coworker if she thought that my fragrance smelled like a grandma. She said, no, not at all. It actually smells amazing. And then I kind of went back and confronted the first coworker that said I smell like a grandma. I told her that she said it doesn't smell like a grandma. She kind of like said, it does smell good, but it's something I would wear. And I guess she was saying grandma because in the dry down, of course, you do have that very old school earthy oak moss that I guess for me would be more suited for like a grandpa, because oak moss is known in those old school masculine kind of outdated fragrances nowadays. Even though I'm a huge fan of oak moss, I love the earthiness, the masculineness that comes from that note, and you definitely get it a heavy dose of it in Hacivat, the original. Anyways, they both said that it smelled good, so you are going to get compliments with it. Don't think about the grandma statement because it does not smell like a grandma at all. But that's what I chose to wear for Thursday is Nishane Hacivat. Friday was in the low 80s and sunny outside, and I went with one of my favorite launches within the last couple years, and that is Sospiro Vibrato. I know a lot of you guys have probably seen this bottle because it got so much hype in the last couple years, like I said, and that's honestly for very, very good reason. It's similar to something like Louis Vuitton's La Mesite and Bulgari Tiger, but it kind of gives off a more herbaceous touch to that DNA, which is outstanding. Without a doubt, one of the best warm weather fragrances, regardless of price. Because this bad boy right here is fairly expensive. But on that day, I did do 10 sprays of Vibrato, kind of had to run some errands. I was out basically all day. The performance as well is outstanding, probably a little bit better than something like Tiger and maybe on par with La Mesite, but still no problems when it comes to performance, will easily last you throughout the entire day. Also got no compliments with Vibrato on Friday, but in the past, people have actually lost their mind about this fragrance. As you guys know, Tiger is basically my signature scent right now, but honestly, I might be thinking about changing it. I don't know if I'm gonna change it to Vibrato or La Mesite, but it's definitely still in that scent profile. One of my favorite scent DNAs of all time with like the grapefruit, ambroxan, the ginger. But like I said, this one adds a little bit of greenness to it, which just works perfectly. But that's what I chose to wear is this masterpiece from Sospiro on Friday, Vibrato. Saturday was in the low 80s and actually rainy outside. It was pouring throughout most of the day. And I went with a brand new fragrance in the collection that I just got, first time wearing it, and it's coming from Born to Stand Out, and this is called Drunk Saffron. Just like how photogenic this bottle is, guys. This is a gorgeous bottle. I love the white and red accent and just kind of the whole scheme that this fragrance house goes for. And this is, I believe, a South Korean based fragrance house. And Drunk Saffron is something you're gonna want on your radar if you're a fan of boozy, spicy, fruity fragrances, because this is exactly what that is. You get this boozy cognac that's so smooth with a very dark, fruity plum that does dry down to, of course, that spicy saffron that does come across a little bit leathery as well. with a very nice vanilla base. And it's the kind of fragrance that's very, very addictive. Even though I wasn't that impressed with the performance of this, I'm gonna have to do a full review of Drunk Saffron very, very soon. This brand is kind of that modern, kind of hipster style brand, which I'm actually digging. On that day, I did do 8 sprays of Drunk Saffron. Don't recall doing that much on Saturday, so I got no compliments from it as well. And this isn't really the kind of fragrance you want to wear in the high heats like on that day, but I couldn't wait to wear it, to be honest with you. I was so excited about this fragrance. But if you do get a bottle of Born to Stand Out, do not pick it up by the cap, because this is the most loose cap I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't stay in place at all. That's going to do it for my weekly fragrance rotation. Let me know down below the fragrances you guys chose to wear throughout the week. I'm always curious about that. But besides that, leave a like, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and you already know. I'll catch all of you back here in my next upload. Take care, everybody.